This is the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth world map as we know it. But as you can see, there are some clouds covering some key parts of the world map, and like Rocket Town region here, as you can see. And then it swoops around and covering up this little unique looking island that we're going to also talk about. But as you can see at the southeast part of the world, it also has some clouds down here that suspiciously would be covering up Mideel, perhaps, and then over on the left, Wutai. Now, what I'm going to do in this video, Excalibro, I'm going to uncover this world map using some sleuthing that I've done. And then I'm also going to predict what the world map will look like in part 3, what the explorable world map will look like in part 3, because that is the key word, explorable. And I'm going to dive into that right now. So as I said at the top, this is the Rebirth world map as we know it. Now, if there was some way that we could just uncover these clouds so we can just get a good look at what is underneath of that, and guess what? We absolutely can. Because during the state of play, we were shown the world map without the clouds on it. This is in the top left corner again. This is a YouTube video compressed, and it just is not really pretty when you zoom in on it. It is very, very blurry because this is what we get when we zoom in. So if I get rid of that, I line it up just perfectly with the world map that I've created in this program, and as you can see, extremely blurry. Now, if I can get rid of, let's just go ahead and get rid of that, and we can combine it. This is the world map in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is what we get to explore aside from Rocket Town region, but we can see some key features like this river running through the middle. We can see the desert area up here, that would be North Corel, and then over here would be Rocket Town and things like that. But as we know, Final Fantasy VII's world map looks a little bit like this. This is the Final Fantasy VII world map from the PS1. So there's a lot more to it, right? So we need to add in some continents, and I've done just that. I've added in some continents to make this world map look like this. There we go. So I've added in the continents, right? So we got Wutai over here, we got Mideel, and even some Round Island and all the other islands, like Goblin Island and things like that. So I want to show you what these regions would look like there. We got Rocket Town region and things like that, right? Icicle Inn region up here. But here's something very interesting, Excalibro. I love I'm gonna say your name again because that is your new moniker here on Final Fan TV, Excalibro. So let me show you something super interesting, and you may know this, you may not know this already, but this is not the explorable world map. This is the world map that appears when you press the pause menu in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But what you are actually running around in, this is going to blow some minds if you don't already know this. As I slowly make that disappear and reappear, it lines up perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. And that's the same thing for all of these if you don't believe me. I'll go over here to this one. And as you can see, it's perfect. So, which is really, really cool to think about, because now we're taking the world map and we're just cramming it down to give us that classic overworld feel, but you're feeling that in a fully 3D realized modern way. I think that is super, super cool. And it's crazy to think. Yeah. The shape of this actually looks like the shape of the continents, right? Right, Excalibur? I feel like you're the one that told me that, right? Yeah. I was like, dude, it is pretty reminiscent. Yeah. And so let's combine all of these together and show you just that, right? So now you can see this is the continent crammed in together. So this whole entire thing is just smashed in. Now, this is what it looks like when we have the Rebirth screenshots. I took in the pause menu, I took a bunch of screenshots and lined them up right? Because you don't get
So
the
this is the playable area in Rebirth right here. This is what we're looking at.
exactly. This is what it actually looks like. This is what your world map actually looks like. And it is completely open world. So you can absolutely walk from one end of it all the way to the other end of it. Or, you know, you have to take the tiny Bronco to cross the ocean. But this is it, right? So you can absolutely expect that Midgar is plopped right on there. And we're going to
Yep.
talk about that a little bit, because I do believe that Midgar is still going to be a kind of a gated location where you enter, it says you're entering Midgar, and then you go into the fully realized Midgar, because I did a whole video on that, which I will put in a little, maybe I'll put a little tag in the top right to kind of click on that of why Midgar is not full scale. But I mean, am I close on that video? And I'll hopefully have a little picture in picture. I am super close of what that would look like. I want to trim this up. I want to make this look like what part 3 is going to look like. All right, Excalibur bro.
Let's see it.
So first of all, I want to zoom in and kind of give you an idea of how I came about this. So if you zoom in far enough, you can actually see the landmass, you know, like the rivers and the ocean cutting into it. And then it just kind of fades off. So some of this I had to kind of use my imagination, but some of this is a little suspicious. Like this area here, now you can say that, yeah, it's the gradient, but that wouldn't make any sense when this landmass comes out towards the middle of the screenshot and then comes back in. So this is telling me that this is an ocean cutting in, which means that all of this would be trimmed out and it would come back in. You can see up here, this is a very key feature where it almost gets this little scoop, gets a little scoop out right there. And, you know, of course, I think we can even look at certain areas like this over here where, yeah, that's cutting in and out. I stood right here and I looked out in the distance to kind of see how far it was going out. I tried to do a lot of different perspectives here, but let's add some definition to this. And of course, down here as well, you can see Cosmo Canyon. So let's add some definition to this. This is what I believe these continents look like. The explorable world.
Warrior of Hype is a full-blown cartographer, baby.
Ooh, you know I love my world maps, Excalibur, bro. You know I love my world maps.
Yes, sir.
But it's not complete. It's not
Dude, that's
complete.
awesome.
It's not complete yet, because what are we missing, man?
I mean, Wutai, Round Island, Medeal, you know.
We're missing all of these. So now I want to add those in using a little bit of imagination and reference from the world map of Rebirth and the world map of the original game, and kind of predict it. So this is what I think the world map will look like in part 3.
Ooh,
so this is the complete world map. Now this also goes against what I was saying, is like, I was like, oh my god, are they going to do a globe? Because I don't truly believe that they're going to make this globe style, but I'm going to talk about that for a second. I do think we will be able to go west and, you know, end up on the east side, right? I do think that is absolutely possible on a flat map, especially with the power of the PS5 SSD being able to go across here. I think we can load in the next area pretty quickly, right? So it's like you're coming out of this way, and maybe you're coming out of Wutai going into Medeal, and maybe you go into some clouds or whatever. They can do a clever way of loading in the next area really quick. Really quickly. But that's just fun to speculate on. Now I kind of want to go in here a little bit more and talk about some of these things. Now this area right here, this looks a little odd, but I had to do it. And if you zoom in, and I lowered the brightness, increased the contrast, and you can see the land formation. Like you can slightly see that going up, and then there's some sort of weird pathway or bridge, and this little triangle piece here, and then it kind of comes down and it goes down here across. When you bump the contrast up, and the brightness down, this is what you see. And I did that with pretty much every single screenshot here. I did that with all of these to kind of get you a better idea of what these of the land definition. So that's how I came up with that little tiny weird island bridge, or however this is, and it's really difficult to tell whether or not the land continues up here, but this is way too obvious to me. So I've added in locations, not just the locations that we're going to visit in part 3, absolutely visit in part 3, but also going to add in some fun locations that are taken from the compilation. Some maybe Ever Crisis locations, Crisis Core, and things like that. So boom, now I have the locations you're going to visit. First one that I want to dive into first, right here, is Lucretia's Cave. I put Lucretia's Cave over here on the left side because of this odd-shaped river that's coming in. And it's like, okay, it was in the original game. It was over here on the western continents. So it makes sense in that way. It's above Nibelheim. Right. It keeps that area. But there was this really odd location up here. Now, we know in Rebirth, this is indeed Gilgamesh Island. Right? This is Gilgamesh Island. But when you go to Gilgamesh Island and you fill it out, it's still covered by the clouds in the menu screen. If you click into Gilgamesh Island and read the intel, it says that it's likely in another dimension. Like, Gilgamesh Island doesn't actually exist in the world of Rebirth. Yeah. Okay. So I could make an argument either way that Lucretia's Cave is either here or up here where Gilgamesh Island is, and Gilgamesh just kind of took over that spot. I want to touch on a few more of these locations. All right, so we got Benora, which is down here. Huge shout out to Vincent Graymore and King Valvados. They play Ever Crisis like crazy, and they were able to absolutely pinpoint where on the map these locations are. And yeah, Benora is actually on the Medill Island. It is just a little southwest of Medill. Medill up here, and then the Quadramagic Materia Cave up top right. And again, all of this will be explorable. And when you get your Highwind, maybe you'll be able to go to this location. You can take your Highwind and land here. But Excalibro, I'm thinking all of this is just going to be mountain ranges. I mean, let's keep it realistic. I mean, even up here, this is still mountain ranges, and it'll be very interesting to see what they do with this extra space that wasn't used in Rebirth. If you're able to go grab a mountain chocobo, and maybe your gold chocobo can go up here, or if your Highwind can't land up here. But
I can't wait to see that.
They absolutely have to fill it in, though, right? Like,
oh yeah,
they can't leave this blank. Completionists would go nuts. I'm going nuts right now in Rebirth, where this is not uncovered. Like, I want to uncover every bit of the map. The fog of war needs to be lifted on all of this. So there's plenty of area that was in Rebirth that can be explored again in part 3. And speaking of which, I added the Cliff Resort up here. Cliff Resort was in On the Way to a Smile, where Rufus goes after Meteor Fall. And then in Advent Children, where Cloud is taking his motorcycle up there with the waterfall going. He's actually going to what is Cliff Resort, but now it's called Healan Lodge after Meteor Fall. I think that's also in the Kids Are All Right book. I think Evan goes there. Over here, I added the Midgar Cliff. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that, Excalibur?
Yes, sir. That's the location where Red 13, aka Nanaki's looking down on the ending.
Come on, we want to visit that, right? Like, that would be. And pitch your idea about you had an idea, and I that was amazing.
Oh yeah. So, okay. So yeah, that'd be a great photo spot for part 3. I mean, if they bring back the photographs, this is like a must-have right here, right? Like, what better photo op than that Midgard cliff right there?
Yeah. So like in the cliff, I still think I said earlier where it's going to be gated, but I think this is the gate. All the cliffs that circle, like encircle Midgar, I think you won't be able to walk around here, but you'll be able to look down on Midgar from the cliffs. I think that would be awesome. There is some land over here that allows you that you can explore, but obviously you can't do that in Rebirth. But you know, maybe you can land the high wind here, run up the cliff, and I'm not even sure this is the exact location of the cliff. So anybody watching this video, if you want to like comment, and here's the Midgar Highway that was closed off. Remember the Midgar checkpoint in Rebirth? You'll be able to kind of actually go through the checkpoint now and figure out where that leads. Obviously somewhere over here, maybe to Cliff Resort. And let's see, Fort Condor is going to be filled in down there. I added the underwater reactor, and I put Bone Village down here at the bottom because Temple of Ancients is at the top. So just swap places. Bone Village is it is a location in the original game, and I feel like it needs to be in part 3. If you look at Gongaga, like, again, a lot of unexplored area over here that can be filled in. There's some unexplored area here, and I had to add this as an extension just based off of the world map. So there's some things I took some liberties on to kind of get that extension, but this is very, very much part of the, let's see if I go to land definition. You can see it right there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You can see the land there. So I kind of traced along that and then extended it out to go here. And then if we go over here to Cosmo Canyon, look at all this unexplored canyon. Now, when you fly the Tiny Bronco in Rebirth, when you're flying it with Sid for the very first time, and it's so freaking cool, you do see it's nothing but a bunch of red clay. You know, it's just a lot of nothing. But I put the ancient forest over here because if we look at the world map, oh, you know what? I thought this was like a forest type area, but it looks like it's just kind of rock. But there's definitely something going on in this area. You know what I mean? It definitely looks suspicious enough.
Yep.
And in the original game, the ancient forest is just west of Cosmo Canyon. So it's going to be either here, maybe it's up. No, maybe not up here. I don't know, but it's got to be somewhere around here, man. Oh, wait. There's some grass right down here. Right down there, man.
Okay. Yep. I see that.
Yeah. So that could be the ancient forest down here. That actually would make some sense too. A little closer to Gongaga where all the forest is. And yeah, that could work. Thanks again. Once again, shout out to Vincent Graymore, who like immediately sent me this right after Ever Crisis dropped their new chapter with Angeal and Sephiroth, young Sephiroth. They were at the Forbidden Land in Wutai. So I went ahead and put that on here. The Forbidden Land right here. The Mime Materia Cave. Fort Tamblin from Crisis Core. The very first mission of Crisis Core. The Detao statue, of course, Wutai. And like the reason why I made it this large is because the tip of Wutai is supposed to be in line with the northern continent. And then this part is supposed to be in line with Cosmo Canyon region, like diagonally. So I mean, if that's the case, Wutai is gigantic. It is a huge country, a huge continent in itself. And as Crisis Core shows us, this was located in Wutai, so that means Wutai is not just a country on a continent; it is the continent. So yeah, that's really cool. That makes Wutai very imposing and very much a force to be reckoned with by Shinra. I put the Redore caverns, underwater caverns from Ever Crisis. So, spoiler alert for Ever Crisis, if you haven't played Ever Crisis, but this is in the very first chapter of Ever Crisis. The live stream retakes it and it sinks into the ocean. Redore, the archipelago of Redore, just boom, it doesn't exist anymore. But if you get the submarine in part 3, you know what I mean? Man, think about
the cooking. Yeah,
you smell what I'm cooking, man. So if an island with a bunch of caves is just suddenly brought down underwater, man, you get little air pockets, right? Maybe you get little air pockets. And then what if you took your submarine down there and you just get out and you're now underwater walking around? Oh, dude! So that's just a little teaser of some speculation there.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, that would be awesome. Modeoheim is up here. So Medeaheim
Yep.
is a key location in Crisis Core. We know that it is south of Icicle Inn. It's in a mountain range, and this is where mountain ranges are on the original world map, like right here, this mountain range.
Yep.
I can imagine that's where Medeaheim is. And then the Icicle Inn over here to the left of Forgotten Capital. And then of course you got your snowboard path, Gaius Cliff, Whirlwind Maze, Northern Cave, and then the Cavern of Wonders, the Great Cavern of Wonders from Crisis Core, where you face off against Minerva. I'm wondering if that returns. You know, like if you can kind of go into that as a side quest dungeon, like optional, completely optional.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that just about covers what I've come up with. This is, and of course I added Cactus Island, Goblin Island, Round Island up here where the Knights of the Round Summon materia is. I think I didn't talk about this, but this is the Oil Derrick, from On the Way to a Smile, where it is talked about being just east of Rocket Town, and of course, once again, I'll bring it up. This is just east of Rocket. This is the area. You know, like this big desert area would be a really cool, fun location for some more dune buggy mini games. You know, like a big open area where you can just have some dune buggy stuff, like Jak 3 style, for all my Jak 3 fans out there that may know what I'm talking about.
Nice.
But that would be really, really cool. And then of course your materia cave up here, but there's probably an Oil Derrick somewhere along these, somewhere along here, in this area, and there would be a river running through this. So yeah, dude, this was just so much fun to make. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about this topic in a much more detailed way. But a lot of these locations are optional, and that makes this extremely fun. And I can't wait to talk more about that and the reasons and the reasons why I think there are a lot of optional locations and how that can go about. I'm super excited to talk to you about that, and to you as well, everybody watching. But this has been my my prediction of what the world map looks like in part 3. Let me know if you think if you think I'm close. This is what I think the world map will look like when you pause it and you get to see all of it, and maybe even rotate the globe, right? In the, because dude, when you pause that screen,
please give me that.
When you pause it in Rebirth, I just want to move the right thumbstick to rotate the globe. I just want to move, I don't want to rotate that globe, man. So if this is what it looks like and you're able to rotate the globe around and then zoom into the region maps, and then you're able to kind of, you know, everything is crushed down when you're in the actual gameplay. I think that is so cool, very reminiscent of the classic Final Fantasy overworlds. And I'm just, man, I just love making this video. So I hope you enjoyed watching it, everybody. There it is. Take care now. Bye-bye then.